Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. All we have left is the Super Bowl game, where we have Seattle and New England, and it's listed right now as New England as the home team and Seattle as the away team, even though it's happening in San Francisco. And just before we get into the data, I want to say that I'm going to continue this over the off season with some news, and I'm going to continue updating this tool. So you want to see all the changes for next year, go ahead and subscribe and follow along, and I'll talk a little bit more about that after all the data. But otherwise, let's get into the Super Bowl game data. So starting off with the team data, you have their totals down here for both offense and defense. And just going through the game stats, you have Seattle favored on the money line with a spread of 4.5 and a total line of 45.5. Now moving over to those seasonal averages if you need them. These correlate to these rankings here. So going through them, you have Seattle with a scoring rank of 2, a passing rank of 11, and a rushing rank of 10. And then defensively, you have an allowed scoring rank of 1, allowed passing rank of 13, and allowed rushing rank of 3. For New England, you have a scoring rank of 8, a passing rank of 7, and a rushing rank of 5. And then an allowed scoring rank of 2, allowed passing rank of 7, and allowed rushing rank of 4. Now getting into our individual players, starting with the quarterbacks, you have Sam Darnold. And I still have the defense over here with your top pass defender, your top tackler, and your sack leader on the team. I won't necessarily go through all this data in detail, but you have it here if you need it. And then I'll switch over to Darnold's averages here. And walking through the turnovers, you have 14 interceptions this season for Darnold, and 5 fumbles lost due to sacks, as well as 1 rushing fumble. Looking at his rushing share to see how much he impacts the rushing game, you have Darnold at 7.4% of the rushing carry share, and about 4.9% of the rushing yard share, meaning he has not a large impact on the rushing game. And on the other side of the ball, you have Drake May as your quarterback. And just looking at the defensive players, you have Woolen as your top pass defender, Jones as your top tackler, and Williams as your sack leader. Moving over to May's averages for the season, and his week-by-week numbers now. As well as his turnovers, you have May with 10 interceptions this season, and 5 fumbles lost due to sacks, as well as 1 rushing fumble. For his rushing share, you have him at about 22.7% of the rushing carry share, and about 23.3% of the rushing yard share, giving him a pretty large impact on the rushing game for the Patriots. Moving into the running backs, you have Kenneth Walker for Seattle. And unfortunately, the defense is not catered to match who the offensive player is, so these remain the same top 3 defensive players. So then you can keep going through the data if you need it there. But moving over to Kenneth Walker's averages for the season. And there's the second half of the week by weeks if you need it. And he's had no turnovers this season, so we'll go right to the charts. So go ahead and pause this video if you need any more of the data. But looking at our share, you have Kenneth Walker at 50.7% of the rushing carry share and 56.4% of the rushing yard share. And the next largest portion goes to the handcuff, Zach Charbonnet at 35.1% of the rushing yard share and about 37% of the rushing carry share. For the Patriots, your starting running back is Ramondre Stevenson. Again, with the defense here if you need it. And the week-by-week information, which I'll go to the second half now. And switch over to the averages. And for turnovers this season, he's at 2 rushing fumbles and 1 receiving fumble. For his share, he's at 32.3% of the rushing carry share and 31.4% of the rushing yard share, with that next largest portion going to the backup, Trayvon Henderson, who took over for quite a while Stevenson was out, which is why Stevenson's numbers are a little low and Henderson's numbers are pretty high. And of course, you have the third largest being Drake May. And then moving into our receivers, starting on Seattle's side with their number 1 receiver, which is Jackson Smith-Njigba. You have his season totals here. And down here, the most recent week-by-week information. Move over to his averages if you need those. And in terms of turnovers, he's only had 1 receiving fumble this season. For his receiving share, he gets about 33% of the target share and 41.2% of the receiving yard share, making him the most targeted receiver by far in Seattle. For the Patriots, your number 1 receiver is Stephon Diggs, with his season totals here. And I'll move down to the second half of his weeks, and then moving over to the seasonal averages if you need those. And then with no turnovers, I'll go right to the charts, so go ahead and pause the video if you need to look at this in more detail. But looking at his share, he gets about 22% of the target share and 22.3% of the receiving yard share, also making him the most productive receiver in New England. For your number 2 receiver, you have Cooper Kupp, with his week-by-week information, and now his seasonal averages. And for turnovers, he's had 1 interception this season and 1 receiving fumble. For his share, he gets about 15% of the target share and about 14.5% of the receiving yard share, and that makes him about the 3rd most productive receiver in Seattle, right behind the number 3 receiver, Rashid Shaheed. Your number 2 receiver in New England is Kayshon Boutte. Here are his seasonal averages and his week-by-week numbers. And with no turnovers, we'll go right to his charts, where he gets about 11.2% of the target share and about 14.3% of the receiving yard share. And that makes him the receiver with the third most receiving yards and the fourth most targets on New England. And then moving into the tight ends, you have A.J. Barner for Seattle. Here's his seasonal averages and the week-by-week numbers. And he's had no turnovers this season. For his share, he gets about 13.1% of the target share and about 11.2% of the receiving yard share. And then finally with our tight end on the Patriots, you have Hunter Henry. Moving over to his seasonal averages, and then his week-by-week numbers if you need those. And again, with no turnovers, we'll go right to the charts, where he's at about 17.9% of the target share and about 17.4% of the receiving yard share, making him the second most productive receiver in New England. So that concludes all the individual data. Just looking back one more time how these teams match up head-to-head with their rankings, and given what we know with the individual players now, you have Seattle with a really tough scoring rank of 2 and allowed scoring rank of 1, which I'll revisit here in just a second. But otherwise, you have New England winning defensively against the Seattle offense with a passing rank of 11 here on Seattle versus an allowed passing rank of 7 with New England. You also have a rushing rank of 10 in Seattle against an allowed rushing rank of 4. And then on the other side with New England, you have a lower rushing rank here of 5 against an allowed rushing rank of 3, but pretty even. And then New England wins a little bit in the passing game with a passing rank of 7 against an allowed passing rank of 13. Now going back to the scoring rank, which I find dictates who wins games more often, you do have a lower scoring rank here from New England at 8 against an allowed scoring rank of 1. The best team in the league at preventing their opponents from scoring is Seattle. So that makes it really tough for New England, and they're really going to have to lean on this passing rank of 7 against this allowed passing rank of 13, it seems like. On the other side, you have an allowed scoring rank of 2 against the scoring rank of 2 in Seattle, so that's fairly evenly matched up. So given this scoring rank of 8 for New England against this allowed scoring rank of 1 for Seattle, it does seem like it tips a little bit in favor for Seattle, even though you have a bit of a better passing rank, and defensively New England has much better rankings than Seattle. So what this really indicates to me is that even though Seattle doesn't have the best offense, they manage to keep up and score quite a bit. And even though their allowed passing ranks about average, they're very good at stopping their opponents from scoring, which is going to make this really tough for New England. So I think the numbers slightly favor Seattle, but if New England really leans on this passing rank and can score quite a bit, then New England may very well take the game. But right now, these numbers, especially with these scoring ranks for Seattle, lean towards Seattle winning the Super Bowl. So that's everything for this game and for the season. I hope that you enjoyed and got something out of it. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe because along in the future, for next season, I'm going to have this built up much more. It's going to have more features to it. You're going to be able to do more stuff with fantasy. So I'm going to come back next season with more information, with more stories, with more time to do this, and a much more improved tool. So if that sounds good to you, go ahead and stick around and see what's going to happen in the future. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next few videos as they come out over the off season.